That's kind of very alarming to me. Why the hell would Future's blood brother, who kind of like runs the FBG label, why would he have a bunch of like, do people keep for their own personal use? No, right? I don't know too much about like that type of drugs, but no, right? So that kind of seems like they're doing some drug dealing, right? 21 kilos? Wow.
Atlanta woke up to a different kind of headline this time. Not rumors, not industry whispers, but federal agents kicking in doors and walking out with 21 kilograms of illegal product and nearly $400,000 in cash. Overnight, the streets realized this situation was way bigger than anyone thought. At the center of it all was Casino, Future's older brother, a man who had been moving quietly for years while standing next to one of the biggest rap stars in the world. But here's the truth nobody was ready for. The feds didn't hit Casino because of what he did last week. They hit him because of what they've been watching for years. And word on the street, they're not stopping with him. Some investigators are already digging into connections that could stretch all the way up to Future himself. And in Atlanta, where Future is practically royalty, this news sent shockwaves through every neighborhood, every studio, every label meeting. Everybody's on edge. Before we dive deeper, you need to understand how wild this moment really is. 5 days before Casino's arrest, November 14, 2025, agents from the FBI, DEA, and a Homeland Security Task Force were already setting the operation in motion. This wasn't a local drug bust. This was a federal-level takedown, the kind of move they only make when they're confident they've already mapped out an entire network. And here's where the story gets surreal. Casino literally appeared in Future's music video, Feds Did a Sweep, standing around money, product, and imagery that investigators now believe reflected his real lifestyle. The line between rap entertainment and real-world criminal activity blurred in front of millions of views. To federal agents, that wasn't art. That was evidence. But this wasn't someone who had one foot in the music industry and one foot in the streets. Casino had been claiming for years that he left the game behind. In 2013, he dropped the Ex-Drug Dealer tape, featuring Future, Young Scooter, Metro Boomin, and Zaytoven. The whole rollout presented Casino as a man who had stepped away from the lifestyle and was fully focused on music. Fast forward to 2017, he appeared on camera in a DJ Small's Eyes interview, riding in the back of a Rolls Royce, saying the trap world was dead, that nobody was really moving like that anymore. Meanwhile, investigators were watching. Every interview, every lyric, every flashy clip, every social media post. People online even predicted what was coming. Comments called him reckless, saying he was basically building the prosecution's case with his own content. One person said, "How many homies gotta go to the feds before these videos stop being self-incrimination?" Turns out, that was the most accurate prophecy in the whole situation. Because now, Casino isn't just facing charges, he's facing mandatory federal time. At 41 years old, the minimum is 10 years, the maximum is life. But the biggest question isn't about his sentence. The biggest question is, why did the feds finally move now? After years of Casino living in plain sight, they don't hit a house accidentally. They don't find 21 kilos and nearly $400,000 by chance. Somebody talked, somebody cracked, somebody opened the door for them. And the feds rarely stop with one arrest. They climb the ladder. This might be the beginning of something much bigger. To understand how Casino ended up here, facing a mandatory federal sentence while his own brother is one of the biggest artists on earth, you have to understand something deeper than charges, raids, or product. You have to understand pride, independence, and the invisible codes that shape street culture. See, when your brother is worth somewhere between $50 to $100 million, most people assume your life is set. They assume you're protected, positioned, safe. But in the streets, it doesn't work like that. A lot of men refuse to feel like they're eating off somebody else's name, even when that somebody is their own blood. That's where this story gets complicated. Casino wasn't just Future's brother. He was deeply tied to the operations of Free Band's gang, FBG. People connected to the label said Casino handled real day-to-day business. He wasn't background. He was a trusted part of the machine. And when someone plays that close to both sides, music and the streets, the line doesn't just blur, it disappears. So now the question isn't just, what was Casino doing? It's, where did the legal business end and the illegal activity begin? That blurred line is exactly the kind of gray area the feds love turning into a RICO case. And the timing, that's where everything gets suspicious. Casino didn't suddenly start moving reckless. He'd been appearing in videos, interviews, and online content for years. He'd been public, visible, easy to track. So why did the feds pick November 2025 to finally kick in the door? Because federal cases don't move fast. They move silent. They watch and they wait, they stack evidence, then they strike when the case can grow beyond one person. The 21 kilos, the $380,000 cash, the connection to a California supplier named David Alito Diaz. That interstate link is what pulled everything into federal territory. State charges are one thing. Interstate trafficking is federal by default. And that means somebody gave them a pathway. Someone inside the network cracked under pressure. Someone flipped. Someone started talking. That's how these cases always begin. But the bigger picture? That's the part Atlanta is whispering about. Because once federal investigators believe product money and music might be intertwined, they start looking upward. They start analyzing the money trail. They start studying the label structure. They start asking whether FBG was just a record label or something else entirely. And with Casino holding a major operational role, the government suddenly has a reason to pull every document, every call record, every financial movement connected to free bands. This isn't about one man anymore. It's about the circle around Future, the circle around the label, the circle around the lifestyle. Casino is 41, facing a minimum of 10 years and up to life. That alone gives the feds leverage. Because when men face time like that, prosecutors know one thing: somebody eventually flips. The question everybody in Atlanta keeps asking is the same: why now? Why did federal agents wait until late 2025 to kick in Casino's door when he'd been living openly, moving the same way, and appearing in videos and interviews for years? The answer is simple, but dangerous. The feds finally believed they had enough pieces to turn this into something much bigger than a single arrest. Federal cases don't erupt out of nowhere. They build slowly, quietly, and strategically. The government doesn't rush. Instead, it watches everything: communication patterns, financial movements, suspicious purchases, travel routes, social media posts, and most importantly, the people in the circle who might bend under pressure. Every operation has someone who cracks, a person facing time of their own, someone who panics, someone who wants to save themselves. When they start talking, the entire foundation shifts. That's likely how investigators found the thread that pulled all of this together: the connection to a young supplier out in California named David Alito Diaz. This link instantly changed the energy of the investigation. The moment product crosses state lines, local authorities lose control, and the federal government takes the wheel. Interstate movement isn't just a charge. It's an automatic escalation. It signals the potential for organized trafficking and opens the door for a conspiracy case. And conspiracy is the entryway to something even larger: a possible RICO build. This is the exact same model the government used in cases involving YSL, BMF, and several major street organizations over the past decade. Once investigators see structure, communication, repeated patterns, or anything resembling hierarchy, they begin piecing together a bigger picture. That's when the raid on Casino's home becomes more than a bust. It becomes the first domino in a chain they hope will lead upward. The involvement of Homeland Security made it clear this wasn't a routine operation. Homeland Security doesn't waste time on small local dealers. They focus on networks, supply lines, and anything with the potential to reach multiple states or multiple players. For them to show up at Casino's door means they believe this case has layers far beyond one man holding illegal product. That's where the concern around Future begins. Casino wasn't a distant relative or someone Future kept at arm's length. He was a known public figure in the free band circle, often present in videos, events, and business settings. His role within FBG wasn't symbolic. People have said he handled real day-to-day responsibilities. So from a prosecutor's perspective, the question becomes whether any of the illegal activity crossed paths with legitimate business, or whether the label itself could be interpreted, fairly or unfairly, as a potential criminal network. Even though rap is entertainment, the government has already shown its willingness to use lyrics as evidence, framing artistic expression as real-life confession. Future's catalog is full of references to street activity, and while those lines are creative expression for fans, a motivated prosecutor could easily reinterpret them as fuel for a narrative that ties him into Casino's alleged operation. That's why this moment is so dangerous. Casino being arrested with 21 kilos and hundreds of thousands in cash wasn't the climax. It was the beginning of a storyline federal prosecutors could stretch into something much larger. And if they decide to build a case resembling the ones used against YSL or BMF, they will dig into every lyric, every financial transaction, every association, and every piece of content that can be twisted into proof. Now that Casino is officially in federal custody, the biggest question hanging over the entire situation is whether this case stops with him or whether investigators are getting ready to climb the ladder towards something much bigger. And if you've paid attention to how modern federal prosecutions operate, you already know which direction this is leaning. The playbook is familiar. We watched it unfold with YSL, with BMF, with 9 Trey, and with smaller cases across the country that never made national headlines. Prosecutors don't just go after the lowest level figure. They analyze everything around the person arrested. The businesses, the money flow, the people in their circle, even the music they help create. Anyone connected becomes a potential piece of the story they're trying to build. And this is where things get incredibly dangerous for Future, even if he had zero involvement in Casino's alleged activities. Because from the outside, and in the eyes of the government, the situation is already starting to look like a familiar narrative, a music label operating as the public-facing arm of an illegal enterprise. This doesn't mean it's true, but federal prosecutors don't need truth. They need a story they can sell to a jury. If they decide to pull Future into this, here's the angle they'll take. Casino wasn't just a family member. He was a part of Freeband's gang, a person known to handle internal operations, trusted enough to move through both Future's business world and his personal circle. And now, he's been caught with 21 kilograms and nearly $400,000 in cash. When you mix that with the fact that Future's catalog is packed with references to street life, from Move That Dope to Blow to Karate Chop, the government suddenly sees a narrative they can stretch. Look at how prosecutors handled Young Thug's lyrics. They treated metaphors like confessions. They used music videos as evidence. They pulled meaning out of bars that were never meant to be literal. And if they decide to follow that same pattern here, they'll claim Freebands wasn't just a label, it was a structure. Future at the top, Casino handling ground-level activity, money moving between both worlds in ways that could be interpreted as laundering or support. That's the danger of RICO. Nobody has to commit every crime. They just have to be tied into an organization where illegal activity occurred. And right now, the feds have a starting point they can expand in any direction they choose. But the craziest part? Even helping his brother could hurt Future. If Future pays Casino's legal fees, prosecutors could twist that into evidence of organizational support. If he keeps his distance, people will say he abandoned his brother. Either way, the optics are messy, the timing is terrible, and the stakes are higher than anything the Freebands camp has ever faced. Then comes the money trail, the most dangerous part of any federal investigation. Once they seize large quantities of cash, the next question becomes, where was it going? Was any of it tied to legitimate business? Did any of it pass through FBG accounts? Were there payments or transfers that don't line up cleanly on paper? Federal forensic accountants specialize in turning financial dust into full-blown conspiracy. And if they find even one transaction that looks suspicious, they'll dig until they hit the roots. All of this raises the most important question of the moment. Is this really just Casino's case? Or is he the first domino in a much larger chain the feds are setting up? The answer depends on what investigators find next and who decides to talk. As the dust settles from the raid, one question keeps echoing through Atlanta. Why was Casino still in the streets when his own brother is one of the richest and most powerful figures in hip-hop? It's the part of the story that doesn't make sense to outsiders. But if you understand street culture and the weight of identity, the answer becomes painfully clear. Casino wasn't just Future's brother. He was his own man. And in the streets, there's a certain pride in earning on your own, not living off another person's success, even if that person is family. Some people feel uncomfortable being taken care of, even when the opportunity is right in front of them. They want to prove something to themselves, to their circle, to the world. Independence becomes a badge of honor. But pride can also become a prison, and Casino might have been trapped in it. Because the truth is, Future could have put him on payroll in a clean role. He could have shifted him fully into the entertainment side of the Freebands empire. He could have created a position that kept him far away from anything risky. He probably even tried, but you can't save someone who doesn't want to walk away from the environment that raised them. And loyalty to the streets, more than anything, is the chain that's hardest to break. Casino had been tied into that world for decades. People depended on him. Networks relied on him. A whole ecosystem was built around his presence. Sometimes the pressure to maintain that, to stay real, to stay connected, to never look like you abandoned your roots, becomes more powerful than common sense. But now he's 41 years old, staring at the possibility of spending the rest of his life behind bars. And the people he was loyal to, the ones he refused to walk away from, most of them won't be there when the courtroom doors close. Meanwhile, Future is stuck in a nearly impossible position. Helping his brother could accidentally drag him deeper into the investigation. Staying distant could make him look cold. Anything he does now will be examined under a microscope, not by fans, but by the federal government. And in a RICO climate where prosecutors try to turn family into co-conspirators, even basic acts of support can be twisted. This is the heartbreaking reality. Casino had every opportunity to step into a legitimate, safe, wealthy life. He had the blueprint, he had the access, he had the proximity to power, but he chose to stay in a world where loyalty is demanded, but never truly rewarded. And now the consequences are here. The feds aren't moving slow. They're combing through every detail, every lyric, every transaction, every connection. And the situation is shifting from a street case to something that could shake free bands as an entire brand. Because federal conspiracy charges don't just target the person caught with the product. They target the organization, the structure, the money flow, and the leadership. This means that what happens next, every decision, every legal move, every public statement, will decide whether this becomes a large-scale investigation or stays focused on Casino alone. Now we're at the part of the story where everything becomes unstable. Casino has been arrested, the feds have seized 21 kilos and nearly $400,000 in cash, and Homeland Security is officially involved. But this situation is nowhere near over, because federal conspiracy cases don't stop with the first arrest. They escalate. Right now, the biggest behind-the-scenes question is whether investigators intend to build a full RICO case around Casino's activities. And if they do, the government will start looking beyond him, tracing money, communication, affiliations, and business links. That's the part that makes people nervous, because once prosecutors smell the possibility of a larger organization, they start examining everyone connected, from the top down. So what does that mean for Future? Legally, he might be completely clean, but perception is power in a federal case, and the optics are bad. Casino is not a distant relative. He's a public figure, a known part of free bands, someone who handled internal operations and business moves. To a prosecutor, that creates a story they can present to a jury. One brother building a legal empire, the other allegedly running illegal operations behind it. Whether it's true or not doesn't matter at first. Prosecutors build narratives before they build cases. And Future's music could become fuel. Lyrics that fans see as entertainment might be interpreted as evidence, the same way they were used against Young Thug. Lines about the trap, money movement, or coded activity could be repurposed into proof of intent or association. We've already seen courts accept rap lyrics in high-profile trials, and if the feds decide to pursue a RICO case, they will absolutely sift through Future's catalog. This isn't paranoia, it's precedent. Then there's the money trail, the most dangerous part of any investigation. If Casino was moving large amounts of cash, the obvious question becomes, did any of that money pass through free bands, intentionally or unintentionally? Were there financial overlaps? Were there unexplained deposits, payouts, or business expenses that could be interpreted the wrong way? Federal forensic accountants don't make mistakes. They follow the paper trail until it leads somewhere, or until it collapses everything around it. And this is where the stakes get real. If prosecutors decide to stretch the case, they could argue that Free Bands wasn't just a music label, but a front used knowingly or unknowingly to wash or move money tied to Casino's alleged operation. It doesn't matter how clean Future is legally. If the government believes there's a narrative they can build, they'll start connecting dots until something sticks. This is the strategy used on YSL. It's what they used on BMF. It's the modern federal playbook. Turn a music brand into a criminal enterprise on paper, then force everyone inside to fight for their freedom. That's why every move from this point forward matters. Future's legal team is likely already digging into the situation, preparing for any possibility. His PR team is likely crafting strategies to protect the brand. And people close to the situation are undoubtedly being told to watch what they say, how they move, and what they post online. Because this story is far from over, Federal cases move slow at first, and then all at once. If this turns into a larger investigation, we'll start seeing new indictments, new names, and new charges. If it doesn't, Casino may end up carrying the entire weight alone. Either way, what happens next could reshape the path of Future's career and shake the rap industry once again to its core. Stay tapped in. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you never miss the next chapter of this developing situation.